This is the news on 92.3 Nigeria Info.
Mental health is real, seek help, end the stigma. On the news this evening, Rivers Administrator Ibas announces increase in 2025 budget proposal. Nomination of non-indigene as RISIAC chairman stirs more reactions. Stakeholder Leno vows to resist conduct of Rivers local government elections. Sickle cell survivor Omubo Pepple decries poor response to patients as World marks Sickle Cell Day. On the foreign scene, Iran minister warns U.S. against joining Israeli strikes. I'm Sam Chinedu, and the news continues after the break.
Not having a bus stop is not an excuse for bad driving or causing accidents. If you are a passenger, inform the driver early before you get to your destination. Also caution the driver when he veers off the road suddenly or stops abruptly at a bus stop. Let's keep the road safe for all road users. If it's safe for one, it will be safe for others. Safe journey. This message is from 92.3 Nigeria Info.
Welcome back. The Rivers State Sole Administrator, retired Vice Admiral Ibokete Ibas, has announced an upward review of the state's 2025 budget from 1.48 trillion naira to 1.846 trillion naira. The review represents an increase of approximately 400 billion naira. Administrator Ibas disclosed this while presenting the revised budget before the Senate Ad Hoc Committee on Emergency Rule today. He said the state's total revenue for 2024 stood at 1.04 trillion naira, exceeding the budget target of 800.39 billion naira. Administrator Ibas reiterated that some officials withheld critical expenditure information during the budget development process, particularly concerning first quarter spending, which led to an incomplete reflection of actual government outlays. He acknowledged that the proposal may not be perfect given the tight timeline and prevailing circumstances on which he was prepared. Recall that last month, President Bola Tinubu sent a budget proposal of 1.48 trillion naira for the Rivers State government to the National Assembly for consideration and passage. The president said the budget proposal became necessary because of the nullification of the 2025 budget of the state by the Supreme Court and the fact that the state is currently under emergency rule. President Tinubu said that 324 billion naira of the amount will be expended on infrastructure, 166 billion naira on health, 75.6 billion naira on education, and 31.4 billion on agriculture. He said by the provisions of the budget, agriculture is expected to generate about 6,000 jobs and appealed to Parliament to urgently pass the budget for the good of the state and its people. Meanwhile, the Senate says it will closely monitor the disbursement and implementation of the budget submitted by the sole administrator as part of its oversight responsibility under the current emergency rule in the state. The chairman of the Senate Ad Hoc Committee on the Oversight of Emergency Governance in Rivers, Senator Okwayemi Bamidele, said this when the administrator appeared before the committee today. Bamidele said the lawmakers will track the budget performance over the coming months to ensure transparency, timely implementation, and value for money. Moving on, a public affairs analyst, Dr. Kennedy Allen Wokoma, says the nomination of a non-indigene as chairman of Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission means that no Rivers person has the integrity to lead the commission. Allen Wokoma said this while speaking with our correspondent. He described the nomination of a non-indigene as chairman of RISIAC as marginalization of Rivers people in the affairs of Rivers State.
what this nomination tantamounts to, what it means is that there is no credible person from Rivers with integrity that is not aligned to any of the political divide. And I doubt if that is the case. There are persons who are credible, who have integrity, who are not also part of the political crisis in Rivers State that could well be nominated to fill that position. This nomination in itself constitutes an act of marginalization of the Rivers indigents. I will advise that whoever did that nomination should do a rethink. There are Rivers indigents who have integrity, so they should sort out for such things and give them the appointment.
He also decried what he called the multiplier effect of such appointments on citizens of the state.
If a Rivers indigent is nominated to fill the position of the chairman of RISEC, it will have a lot of multiplier effect. For instance, if a Rivers indigent is made a chairman, it will have a lot of personal assistants who of course must be Rivers indigents. And these personal assistants will benefit, including their dependents. Now, bringing an outsider to come and be the chairman of RISEC in Rivers State, of course you know that the person will not like to employ Rivers indigents as a special assistant. Because you know, he will always have that fear that if he employs Rivers indigents, that one or two information may seep out. So at the end of the day, Rivers State, we are now holding the short stick, end of the stick.
But a member of the All Progressives Congress in Rivers State, Chizi Nyomasili, said the appointment of a non-indigent will help achieve an unbiased electoral process.
I think the merit in appointing this person as Afro River State is that it's going to give us a seemingly unbiased provisions of election. I think that we should give kudos to the administration for bringing in somebody who is not from here. If you appoint a chief Masla, for instance, whether I'm political or not, whether I have integrity or not, there are linkages that I have. I have relatives here, I have friends here who are politicians who will get to me. But the man who is coming like an unbiased umpire, who does not know anybody here, he is here to do his job. I think that we should give kudos to the administration for bringing in somebody who is not from here. I think we should applaud that.
He dismissed the criticisms against the appointments, arguing that previous administrations appointed non-indigents into their cabinets.
Again, we are Nigerians. Now, anybody can be appointed somewhere in anything. It's just an appointment from DPMH. We saw non-indigents of Rivers State being appointed as commissioner. We have seen that happen. So the thing we should be asking now is, does he have the qualification? Does he have the requisite to be able to preside? Let us not watch him. This sacrifice is a piece of offensive, and I think we should go that way.
Also, former chairman of Emoha local government area, Dr. Chidi Lloyd, has faulted those criticizing the appointment of Michael Ode, an indigent of Cross River State, as chairman of the River State Independent Electoral Commission, RISEC. Speaking in an interview with correspondent Emeka Otuka, Lloyd said the focus should be on Mr. Ode's performance, not his state of origin. He said this is not the first time governors have demonstrated what he described as pan-Nigerianism in making appointments.
This will not be the first time people are going out of their way to show pan-Nigerianism. So I don't see anything wrong with the appointments. Let us not begin to cry foul when nothing has happened yet. What we should talk about is what happens with the appointment. What the man now does is what we should bother about. We were all in this state when suspended Governor Fubara brought in someone from Delta State as his chief press secretary, a commissioner for special duties who is also from Imo State. We even have judges and magistrates who are not Rivers people, but who have stayed in Rivers State and are paying tax in Rivers State. We are one Nigeria, for crying out loud.
He also said River State is calm under the leadership of the sole administrator, retired Vice Admiral Bokata Ibas, with economic activities steadily progressing.
So let those who know the job do it, and you can see how everything is moving peacefully. When you don't value what you are given on a platter of gold, this is what you get. Where are those naysayers? Where are a lot of those people who are saying, no, we don't agree? Where are all the governors? I've not learned that Governor Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State has come to visit him, or Governor Oburewuri of Delta. They are all in their states, enjoying their states. The administrator is even trying.
In another development, the former spokesperson for civil society organizations in River State, Solomon Lenu, says they will resist any attempt to conduct local government elections in the state without the reinstatement of suspended Governor Siminalayi Fubara and members of the State House of Assembly. Lenu stated this in an interview with correspondent Emeka Otuka while reacting to the appointment of the RISEC chairman and commissioners. He said any move by the sole administrator, retired Vice Admiral Bokata Ibas, to conduct local government elections will be challenged in court.
It is a democratically elected governor that can conduct elections here. Until those structures are returned back, we cannot be talking about elections. So whatever they are doing, if in their wildest imagination they are thinking about conducting elections, of course it's going to be illegal. It is something that will be challenged, and when it is challenged, of course, it will stand, because of course, there's a margin in law that says that you can't put something on nothing and expect it to stand. Except that the president is telling Nigerians that democracy has been shoved aside in Nigeria, because as it stands today, governance is on a pause mode in Rivers State.
A professor of political sociology and governance studies at the University of Port Harcourt, Steve Wadu, says Rivers people have lost their sovereignty within the 3 months of the state of emergency rule in the state. Professor Wadu made this known in an interview with correspondent Soibirwari as the state of emergency rule clocks 3 months.
Nothing gained, everything lost, because a people who have lost their sovereignty have lost everything. Sovereignty is the reason for a state and its citizens to claim their identity. Once that sovereignty has been removed, even if you give them gold, they are still slaves. So when a sovereignty of Rivers State has been removed, stranger elements ruling and presiding over the government and resources of Rivers State, we cannot say that we have gained anything.
Wade also said the state has lost its accountability system in the last 3 months. On his part, spokesman of the African Democratic Congress, ADC, Luckyman Agila, said within the last 3 months, nothing tangible has been achieved in the area of infrastructural development.
Rivers State has been in state of emergency for the past 3 months, and there is nothing to write home about. We are not seeing any tangible projects being carried out in any of the local government areas or in the state capital. It's just been the normal routine of paying workers' salaries, and that is all. So I don't know the essence for this state of emergency, because I feel that it's another way of stagnating progress and development in Rivers State. The president lost a rare opportunity to run his rights on June 12, Democracy Day, when everyone was expecting that they would call it off.
Ms. Aguilar also said the party will drag the sole administrator to court if he goes ahead with any conduct of local government elections, saying they are still reviewing the actions of the administrator.
We are actually evaluating whatever they are doing, and the moment we see that the present research that is being set up that the Senate Committee is working on, for Christ's sake, is a bunch of illegality, we are going to court to challenge whatever they are doing. And coming to say they want to conduct local government elections when we don't have faith, for Christ's sake, you're making a non-citizen a chairman of an electoral body to conduct an election for Rivers citizens. Place our democracy heading to, for Christ's sake. President Tinubu is making serious democratic mistakes, allowing a lot of things that are not supposed to be. And I think our representatives, who we call senators and House of Reps members, are becoming rubber stamp.
Recall that June 18 marks 3 months since President Bola Tinubu declared a state of emergency in Rivers State, leading to the suspension of the governor, his deputy, state lawmakers, and the appointment of a retired naval vice admiral as the sole administrator for 6 months. The president's decision stems from the political crisis between Governor Similai Fubara and his political godfather, FCT Minister Nyesom Wike. Still to come, sickle cell survivor Omubo Pepple decries poor response to patients as World marks Sickle Cell Day. Stay with us.
When in
Welcome back. The FCT High Court has granted bail to the suspended senator for Kogi Central, Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, to the tune of 50 million naira. The court, in a ruling delivered by Justice Chizoba Oji, rejected an application the federal government made for the defendant who was arraigned on a threat against her. The federal government has closed its case on the ongoing trial of IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu in the allegations bordering on terrorism and treason. The federal government lawyer, Adeboyega Awomolo, announced this after the fifth prosecution witness was led in evidence and cross-examined by Kanu's lawyers, Onyechi Ikpeazu, before Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court in Abuja. Following the rise in the price of crude oil in the international market as a result of the war between Israel and Iran, some filling stations in Port Harcourt metropolis have started adjusting the pump price of fuel to the new depot price. A correspondent observed this during his visit to some petrol stations in parts of Port Harcourt metropolis. Speaking to correspondent Soibe Ruwari on this, a filling station owner in Port Harcourt, Johnny Francis, complained the depot price of fuel has risen from 890 naira to 920 naira. Mr. Francis, while explaining the reasons for the new price of fuel, said those with old stock still increase the price of their old products.
Our wahala with fuel increase, we don't know. When you reach, before you do expenses now, you reach 930, 940 to some areas. Now, people will get old stock, see they say, but people will get new stock. Some them they say 970 now, some 98. Depends on your location. The depot come out on Monday, say they increase price. They say the problem in the Middle East, like they cannot have enough crude oil, like crude oil is corrupted in the international market. No Nigerian people, when something go up in the international market, they come increase the local content immediately. But where they get for radio, but they increase it overnight.
In the meantime, the National Public Relations Officer of Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Pengasan, Dr. Eze Ifeanyi, is asking the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA, to explain to Nigerians how prices of fuel are fixed and the benefits of their monitoring activities of filling stations to the country. Also, the zonal chairman of Pengasan Port Harcourt branch, George Nwoko, predicted that the cost of fuel may still rise if the federal government does not fix its refineries, as the cost of crude oil in the international market continues to rise as a result of the Israel-Iran war.
Whenever there is any geographical event like this, a war in any region, it's expected. We have seen a sharp increase, about $10 additional to what 64 it was last month, and now it's about $74.3 per barrel. We also expect it to climb up to $100 per barrel if the war continues, and that will also mean about 1% inflation on goods and services. So it's not about only increment in petroleum products; it affects other chains of supply.
Recall that following the war between Israel and Iran, the price of crude oil per barrel before the start of war was $68.41 per barrel, but the price has now risen to $75.26 per barrel as a result of the war. As Nigeria marks World Sickle Cell Day 2025, a survivor, Ms. Tamono Tokini Omubo-Pepple, has described the response of healthcare providers to people living with sickle cell disease as slow and inadequate. Ms. Omubo-Pepple, who is also the founder of the Sickle Cell Awareness and Health Foundation, told correspondent Martha Okere that healthcare workers must offer fair, respectful, and timely treatment to patients with the condition.
We are lagging behind in Nigeria a whole lot. Our medications, treatment aspects, Nigerians do not really treat people with sickle cell properly. It has this stigma that they're attached to us. They look down on us, make us feel like we are not humans too. So it's somehow, I think they should create policies that help people living with sickle cell, like when it comes to providing good healthcare services for people living with sickle cell.
Speaking on her personal journey with the disease, Ms. Omubo-Pepple said she experienced bullying during her childhood. She's now calling for increased public sensitization to combat discrimination and stigma against individuals living with sickle cell disorder.
Some people act like sickle cell is communicable. They want to stay away from you. They're going to make fun of you. body talk about why you have a big stomach, why are your eyes always yellow, why you're always sick, why do you always miss school, work, and the rest of that. We should do more sensitization, enlighten people on what sickle cell is all about, promote people knowing their genotype even before getting right, not just from any roadside lab, from a standard lab.
Also speaking, a sickle cell advocate, Ms. Adolisa Udekwe, urged doctors and health professionals to improve their knowledge and capacity in the treatment and management of sickle cell disease.
So I've seen cases where warriors have crises and episodes, and then they come to the hospital, and then there are doctors who don't even have an idea of what this, and they just go on to administer whatever. I mean, you find doctors asking questions like, when did you find out that you have this? Yeah, although some people don't find out early enough, but then I don't think that should be your first question. So I would actually like to see that more doctors who actually know this disease, who are more like the hematologists, they get to attend to these patients more.
Mr. Dekwe also called on the government at all levels to invest in the health sector by providing adequate infrastructure to support the care of people living with sickle cell. Meanwhile, a professor of hematology, Dr. Kaladada Korubo, has called for the implementation of a nationwide newborn screening program, stressing that early detection is critical to effective management. She spoke with correspondent Martha Okere.
Early detection will go a long way in managing people that are living with sickle cell. We should have newborn screening in place. The other thing is subsidizing care. In the hospital, they are not able to afford their drugs, the transfusion, the consultation visits, and so on and so forth. So if we have them as a special niche, as a special group, taken care of in terms of the drugs that they require, some of the drugs that they take are expensive. So if we have a kind of subsidy for them in a government system, and then that entitles them to certain benefits.
Today is World Sickle Cell Day. World Sickle Cell Day is observed annually on June 19 to raise awareness about sickle cell disease. This International Awareness Day aims to educate the public about SCD, its impact, and the importance of early diagnosis, treatment, and prevention. The day also serves to promote research and innovation in the field, reduce stigma, and empower communities to advocate for better care. According to the World Health Organization, Nigeria accounts for over 50% of sickle cell disease SCD births globally, and 70 to 90% of affected children die before their 5th birthday due to lack of early diagnosis and proper treatment. On the international scene, Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister Saeed Khatibzadeh says the U.S. joining Israeli strikes on Iran would cause hell in the region. The minister told the BBC that the war is not America's war. His comment, as U.S. President Donald Trump considers U.S. action in the conflict. Earlier, Israel's defense minister says Iran's supreme leader can no longer be allowed to exist after the Soroka hospital was hit. On the news this evening, you heard Rivers Administrator Ibokete Ibas has announced an increase in the 2025 budget proposal from 1.48 trillion naira to 1.84 trillion naira. The nomination of non-indigenous RISEC chairman has continued to stir reactions. A stakeholder, Solomon Lenu, has vowed to challenge the conduct of Rivers State local government elections in court. Sickle cell survivor Omubo Pepple decries poor response as patients as the world marks Sickle Cell Day. And on the foreign scene, Iran minister has warned the U.S. against joining Israeli strikes. The news was edited by Onyeka Chinwosu. To reach the news team, send an SMS or WhatsApp to 0808 721 7215. I'm Sam Chinedu. Thanks for listening.